Hi, everyone, and welcome to Geek Speak Louder than Nerds, a weekly rewatch podcast for TV shows, movies, and this week, the return of an original Star Wars character that I couldn't recognize because he didn't have a red arm. My name is Mike Hilty.
And I'm Nick Farrow.
How you doing today, Nick?
For the first time in 30 years, I went to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, where a kid can be a kid.
I had a birthday party to take my kid to today. And I went to the home of one Charles Edward Cheddar III. And I could not believe how different it was. Like, there was a part of me that was like, I kind of hope that it's exactly the same as it was when I was there last. Like, a dark, dungeonous room with the grossest ball pit, old ass arcades from like the 90s, and everything was the same. But I walked in and it looked like a damn Dave and Buster's. They
Oh,
clearly have renovated it. The
no.
lights were all turned on. I'm like, what is this nonsense? But no animatronics, no
Wait,
anything.
hold on. Wait, time out. No animatronics?
Beware, I have recently come into possession of some peculiar animatronics.
They had giant screens playing videos of animated Chuck E. Cheese, puppet Chuck E. Cheese, kids interacting with cartoon Chuck E. Cheese, like every kind of Chuck E. Cheese you can imagine. Not a single animatronic in the building on the screen. It's disappointing. When they brought the kids to the center area to sing happy birthday, the rat did make an appearance. It was a guy in a suit though, and then all of the employees who worked like serving the pizza sang like kind of like a birthday song. So like
Oh.
that was disappointing. But yeah, it was a fine time. There's a reason why Chuck E. Cheese is still alive. When was the last time you got to visit one of these fine establishments?
My sixth birthday when I had it
Nice.
at Chuck E. Cheese. There is one Chuck E. Cheese around us, but my daughter, or neither of them, have friends that have birthday parties there because there's zillions of other places around here to have a birthday party at that's not Chuck E. Cheese. And now that I am aware that there is no animatronics, which that to me is the best part of Chuck E. Cheese, the creepy animatronics trying to sing.
My new inanimate robot band would likely start walking around of their own free will, and if they see you, they will try to stuff your body or your head into a Fazbear suit, squashing it into gooey bits. What? At least until 6 a.m.
What's the point? What is the difference between Chuck E. Cheese and just your regular arcade? Nothing.
Exactly.
No.
It was Dave and Buster's. It was a Dave and Buster's with no alcohol, and at that point, what's the point, right?
I mean, even Chuck E. Cheese back in the day had beer.
I don't think they did. They had a salad bar for the adults, but the pizza was good, but it was, and I said this to Julie before a couple days ago. I was like, I remember Chuck E. Cheese pizza being like the best pizza on the planet, and I'm afraid to go there and eat the pizza for if they changed the recipe, or even if they didn't change the recipe,
And it
there's
just doesn't
no
hold up.
way it can hold up to the imaginary pizza that I have in my mind. And it didn't. It didn't hold up. It was not the golden nectar of the gods that I remember it being. It was fine. It was good pizza. I mean, for considering like I'm very particular about my pizza. So it either needs to be basic bitch pizza or it needs to be really freaking good. There's no in between. Like I will only eat those two types. Like I'm
Okay,
so weird that way.
okay. Then, in your estimation, what is your favorite basic bitch pizza to eat?
Pizza time.
I mean, it's Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza. That's my favorite basic bitch pizza. But like, I think Chuck E. Cheese is now kind of on that list. My favorite place is in town, a place called Sal's Pizza. My buddy used to work there. A couple of my friends actually used to work there when I worked at Kmart, and it was in the same plaza, and I would walk over there. I had an affinity for this pizza, and most other mom and pop pizza shops, I'm not a fan of their pizza. The sauce isn't good enough. The cheese, they don't
Oh,
use enough cheese, or like They put something in it that makes it just taste, or it goes like the second you get it home. Like there's a place that my father-in-law buys pizza from. By the time you get it back to the house, it's no good. You might as well just throw it out. If you're not going to eat it as soon as it comes out of the oven, just throw it in the garbage because it's awful. But like
Wow.
Sal's Pizza, my absolute favorite pizza. I won't go anywhere else unless it's like crap pizza, like Pizza Hut or Domino's or like frozen pizza from the like that. That's it. I don't know. I'm broken in that respect. But yeah, the Chuck E. Cheese pizza, not bad. Not amazing, but not bad.
One of my favorite news stories, there was a woman who was outraged that when she ordered a pizza from Uber Eats, she got the pizza, it tasted pretty good, but then when she found out it was from Chuck E. Cheese, she flipped out. Come on, don't be that person.
Hey, you already said you liked it. You don't get to then be mad.
Yeah, you don't get to backtrack on it just because you figured out where it came from. That's insane.
No, I mean, unless the rat actually made the pizza, but then we're just getting into Ratatouille levels.
I was about to say
anyone can cook.
Yeah.
As long as he washed his tiny little paws, that's all that matters.
What is your go-to pizza? Like, are you a thin crust person? Are you a pan pizza person? Are you one of those weird people who likes New York style pizza? And what's your go-to?
I'm sorry. What do you mean New York style pizza? As opposed to what?
I'm from the Chicago land area.
Yeah, no, I know. And I have a feeling that's where you were headed.
Yeah, of course. There's something about
you mean your casseroles? Your tomato casseroles?
So let me explain something. Deep dish pizza is not only not better than New York pizza, it's not pizza.
Okay, that's fine. I'd rather have a pizza casserole than a piece of paper masquerading as a pizza.
I want to know when I get drunk and pass out on my pizza that I'm not going to drown.
Okay. Listen, for sake of not ending the podcast over pizza, let's just say my favorite pizza is just regular old New York style pizza that you can fold, that has cheese dripping off of it, that has a nice soft crust but firm on the bottom with a little bit of a crunch to it. I do like thin crust pizza, but sometimes you need it to be a little more juicy. And I like the crust that I'm holding to be nice and fluffy, unless it's also filled with cheese. Because I'm telling you, that stuffed crust cheese, man. What's his name? Stickly? No, not Stickly. That was the Nickelodeon thing. The Pizza Head. Remember the Pizza Hut Pizza Head?
Yes.
He used to talk to us.
It's the Pizza Head Show.
Hey, everybody. And then one day he got abducted by aliens and they injected cheese into him.
The Cheeseinator will transform you into a stuffed crust pizza.
Is this necessary?
Sure it is. We're aliens. That's what we do.
And that was the day, man. The world changed.
Yeah.
Cheese in the crust of pizza? Genius.
I remember when Pizza Hut came out with the stuffed crust pizza, it just felt like that this was the pinnacle of food innovation.
Not even food innovation, human society. We had reached our peak. I don't know about you, but it's kind of been all downhill from there.
You will tell the world to eat their pizza crust first.
Cheese in the crust. At least we've got that. We can die from taxes and starvation and war and famine and all that jazz. We have cheese in our crust. We'll be all right.
The thing is, nobody else can do it as good as Pizza Hut. And all these other imitators and frauds, they can't do it as well as Pizza Hut.
DiGiorno makes one, and it's just like, why do you even try? It's not that great.
What was it? I think Papa John's tried it for a little while. And
did they?
They figured out pretty quick, like, you know what? Maybe we should just stay in our lane.
What did Pizza Hut patent that shit? They've got it copyrighted. In 2032, you'll be able to draw a picture of Steamboat Willie eating a Domino's stuffed crust pizza.
Yeah, maybe stuffed crust will enter public domain soon enough. So,
oh God, that would be amazing.
Everybody can take advantage of it, and then we'll get weird horror movies and video game adaptations. Everything will be great.
You'll get nothing unlike it.
Do you think we should get into the show this week?
Oh, I suppose. Let's do it. This week we'll be watching Star Wars Ahsoka Part 7, Dreams and Madness.
Once upon a time,
Star Wars
dream you do so much you could do anything?
We open up on an establishing shot of Coruscant and are quickly brought into a New Republic hearing with Hera standing in the center of a room before a council of senators and Mon Mothma. Discount Borsk Phalia is proclaiming that they can't allow a general of the New Republic to act as though they are still a rebellion. He especially doesn't like that Hera is okay with bending the rules if it fits her own personal agenda. Hera counters that her job is to protect the people of the Republic, and that's exactly what she was doing.
And you protected the New Republic by ignoring direct orders.
No, I protected the New Republic by ignoring you.
Mon Mothma cuts in to say that at least they can agree that Hera's actions brought to light that there's an incident on Cedos. Discount Phalia acts as though he doesn't live in a galaxy far, far away, balking at Hera's reports that Jedi, space whales, star maps, and distant galaxies can't possibly exist and are merely fairy tales. Hera tries to explain the situation regarding the Imperial Remnant, and he objects to the use of the term Imperial Remnant and claims that there is no proof of any coordinated effort.
Except for all the proof that Hera got from the Ghost and Hu Yang that we discussed last week.
Listen, that's irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. We don't need evidence or anything like that. We're all good.
Wait, I'm sorry. You have video of this? I don't believe it.
No, it's not true. Pay no attention to this evidence. But wait, anybody can use the Force, right?
That's correct. But it doesn't exist.
Midichlorians can do anything. This causes Carson to jump out of his seat and ask if they even bothered to watch season 3 of The Mandalorian. Discount Borsk just says, I watched the first 2 seasons, but Gideon didn't seem to be too much of a problem. Hera then cuts in that if Thrawn returns, that will change quickly.
I don't know what frightens me more. The possibility of what might happen or your unwillingness to see it.
He then somehow manages to turn the story into Hera using her authority for personal gain.
Would you care to show your work on that one? Because what personal gain? What is she getting out of all of this? I mean, even if they do find Ezra, the Imperials built a giant hyperspace ring just cause they were bored. At the very least, let's act like maybe he might come back. Because if he does, and our pants are down, then we're in trouble.
Why do our pants have to be down?
It's a local colloquialism that indicates that you wouldn't want your pants down in a situation that you would find yourself to be compromised in.
What, like the back of a Volkswagen?
I'm just saying, Thrawn doesn't look like the kind of guy that would take you out to dinner first.
Anyways, suddenly the proceedings are interrupted by a very familiar voice proclaiming, how rude. Stephanie Tanner?
Hi there, Tanner Tots. Oh great, Kimmy's here.
I couldn't believe they got Jodie Sweetin for the episode. It was mind-blowing because she's never even been in Star Wars before.
Anywho, but no, not Stephanie Tanner. C-3PO has returned to us.
I am C-3PO, human-cyborg relations.
C-3PO is arguing with the guard to let him in when Mon Mothma notices and calls him forward. He says he's here on behalf of Senator Leia Organa. Should we take a minute to Tebow?
Pour one out for a real one.
And he is here to present a data transcript authorizing Hera's entire mission. And Mon Mothma is just like...
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
Discount Borsk is understandably so pissed off by this. But 3PO tells him that if he wants to take it up with anyone, the last time Leia checked, she's in charge of the Defense Force. Mon Mothma considers the matter closed and dismisses everyone, but tells Hera to hold up a minute. She knows that Leia did not authorize the mission, and Hera countered that she did, eventually. She then asks Hera how real the threat of Thrawn's return is, to which Hera replies, in all seriousness, we need to prepare for the worst.
We come back from the title card to the Voldemort training room, where Ahsoka has both her lightsabers out and is practicing with Clone Wars era Hollow Anakin giving instruction. Anakin is giving a pep talk regarding the war along with other tips and tricks. Asajj Ventress even gets a name drop, and Huyang walks in right at the end, and Ahsoka tells him that Anakin made 20 more of these recordings for her. And I just thought that was weird. He made 21 recordings? Like,
That was a very
Why
specific
21?
number.
Like this is the spicy part of my brain just like hanging up on the fact that he made 21 recordings. Like, why? I don't like that. That's like leaving your TV volume on an odd number. Ew.
Oh, thank God you're one of those people too. I'm,
It's got to be an
I'm
even number,
it's
or
gotta be an
I'm
even number.
okay with zeros and fives.
Last I checked, zero's an even number.
I know. Like, I'm just like in increments of zeros and fives. Like it could be like a 20 or a
It's
25.
yeah, five is the only okay one. But
And
even
but
so,
even then, I'm like, I mean, let's be real. 25 is a little loud.
it's very loud.
There's really no reason that you need to go above 20 unless you're watching Netflix for some god awful reason and the thing is so stupid low. You got to go up to 30. But yeah, even numbers, baby. So Hu Yang thinks that they are almost there because the whales are starting to slow down. They head to the cockpit, and Ahsoka says that the first order of business is to find Sabine. She came with the enemy, so if they find the enemy, they find Sabine. Kind of like the transitive property there. But Hu Yang would be excellent at cinema sins and says what I said last week, assuming that the whales didn't take them to a completely different galaxy, system, or planet. Ahsoka thinks the odds are pretty good.
No, in fact, they're terrible, astronomically terrible.
Well, you should have said something.
I did.
But the whales then drop out of hyperspace, and right away, Ahsoka can sense that something is wrong. Suddenly, they can see explosions through the teeth of the giant whale. They take off, and the whale opens its mouth as they fly into an active Imperial minefield. The whales start to make their way out of the mines by jumping back to hyperspace, taking away the cover that they were inadvertently providing Ahsoka and Hu Yang. The two manage to clear the minefield just in time for fighters from the hyperspace ring to approach them. In an effort to escape the enemy fighters, Ahsoka flies the Voldemort directly into the debris field.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
The field is too dense for Hu Yang to find an opening on the sensors, but Ahsoka is a Jedi and she is able to navigate through well enough, which can't be said for one of the pursuing ships that explodes after hitting some debris.
On the surface, Enoch informs Thrawn that the minefield was triggered by the space whales and a T6 Jedi shuttle. That does sound like the start of a bar joke. A space whale and a T6 Jedi shuttle walk into a bar. Thrawn takes this as confirmation that Ahsoka is alive, and Morgan hands him an iPad with all the information that they have on Ahsoka. He stares at it momentarily and then freezes, and then asks her master was General Anakin Skywalker.
Oh my God.
Did you see the giant load that he unleashed in his pants when he read that?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just like,
oh no.
I'm sorry. Who was her master? Well, that changes a lot.
Enoch says that their fighters are in pursuit of the debris field, and Thrawn orders them to be recalled. Morgan thinks this is a bad idea, but Thrawn doesn't want to waste resources unnecessarily. How frugal of him. Plus, they are getting to know their adversary, and if she is anything like her master, she will be quite unpredictable. Thrawn says they must control all variables, but wants to let her pick a path of her own choosing, because by letting Ahsoka decide what she does next, it allows them to be one step ahead of her.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Back on the ship, Ahsoka is barely making it through the debris field in one piece. Hu Yang announces that the enemy ships have withdrawn, and he's not surprised. Ahsoka finds a nice quiet spot inside the bones of a space whale and powers down. Hu Yang asks how the bad guys could have anticipated their arrival, and Ahsoka determines that Thrawn did, which means Morgan has already made contact. Hu Yang says he will start scanning the planet to try and locate Sabine.
We need to back up a little here to this thing that Thrawn says about being able to control all the variables. It made no goddamn sense. He's like, we must let her choose the way to go. That way we'll be one step ahead of her. And I'm like, how? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
It's the kind of thing that someone writes for someone who they think is smart, but they themselves aren't smart. It's like the Packleds from Star Trek are writing this.
We like to be smart.
I don't understand what he means by this. And then later on, the exact opposite happens, and he's just like, exactly as I planned. I'm like, how? It's so stupid. Oh my God. All I have to say is Thrawn's not looking good in this episode in terms of things he's capable of doing. On the planet, Ezra is sitting in the driver's seat of the Toti tentmobile. We then see Sabine coming up from below, and if it wasn't made so clear that they are just brother and sister, I would have sworn she was doing something else.
On the belt line of the automatic pilot, there is a hollow tube. Now that is the manual inflation nozzle. Pull it out and blow on it.
So all I saw was Sabine coming out of his lap. I'm like, oh. Damn it, Star Wars. Will you please stop trying to make brothers and sisters get it on?
No, it's our thing.
Ezra and Sabine start going back and forth about what the galaxy has been up to for the last 10 years. He can't believe it. The Empire was defeated and the Emperor killed. Hopefully he doesn't somehow return.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
No! Zeb is training recruits and Hera is commanding the fleet. Ezra then brings up the subject of, how did you find me again? Because she still hasn't told him, and she says it's complicated and just drops the subject. Sabine then tells him that Ahsoka took her on as an apprentice. He asks where Ahsoka is, and once again gets it's complicated.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Pretty shitty of Sabine not to just be like, tell him exactly what happened.
Tell her the
truth. Mainly because it's not as complicated as she's making it out to be. She just knows that he's not gonna like the answer. Like, well, I think Ahsoka's dead, and I decided to go with the bad guys because I figured letting them find Thrawn was better than not finding you. I mean, it doesn't actually sound all that bad.
No. Given the options.
And if he really wants to go home, he'll probably be like, cool.
Fine, okay.
All right, I think, like I said last week, I think we can make this work. Like, it's maybe doable. It sounds like you made a decision that was future Sabine's problem, and now you're a future Sabine, so we're gonna fix this problem together.
Back at the base, the witches come to meet Thrawn, and he asks them to find Ahsoka with the Force. They surround the hollow map and pull out their balls again.
These ladies love playing with the balls.
Wait, are we still doing phrasing?
A red beam connects the balls around the map and they close their eyes.
Space phrasing!
We cut to the Voldemort and Hu Yang says the scanners are no use and he can't locate Sabine. Ahsoka says they don't need the scanners and she closes her eyes to find her presence in the Force. Is this a thing in...
That one works.
No. I'm wondering...
You're asking a logistics question?
I'm wondering a logistics question. As somebody who's read, all the other...
I mean, you don't have to have read anything. In Empire Strikes Back, Luke hanging upside down over the Cloud City calls out to Leia in the Force, and she hears him. And she then uses the Force herself to direct Lando to find Luke. And the expanding universe has expanded on that greatly, where, like I said a few weeks ago with family units, they sense each other's presence, and the closer a bond you have with someone, the easier it is to detect them, which is why a couple weeks ago I also said, like, Ahsoka sees Shin show up and then immediately thinks the worst, that Shin killed Sabine, and it's like, no, you would have felt that in the Force. Like, the Force would have been like, she dead. Like, remember Obi-Wan felt the entirety of Alderaan exploding because of all of those lives suddenly crying out and then being silenced. Like, the terror, the shockwave that it sent through the Force really, like, it hit him. So, like, if you're really close to someone and they die, you will feel it. You will know. And Ahsoka and Sabine should have that kind of a connection. At the very least, Ahsoka should, due to the fact that she's been doing it for a long time. Like, she's much more experienced. Luke was able to get Leia's attention, and they were both novices at the time. So if you've been practicing this, You should kind of feel each other's presence. Like the Force does cool things. If you know how to be creative with it, the show does not.
She calls to Sabine in the Force. On the planet, Sabine sits up and hears Ahsoka through the Force. Ezra asks her what's up, and Sabine says she doesn't know, just a feeling. However, back at Thrawn's base, the witches are able to detect Ahsoka using the Force with ease and point out her location on the map. Just then, Ahsoka and Huyang come under heavy fire. They take off and exit the debris field, heading towards the planet. Thrawn then tells everyone, "Well done, we've driven her out of hiding." So the whole thing about letting her pick her own path, that was just a bunch of horseshit, wasn't it?
Apparently. Just dumb dialogue that sounds cool, but doesn't actually hold up to any scrutiny.
Yeah.
He didn't let her pick her own path. He used his space wizards to find her, and they pointed at her, and he went, "All right, shoot there." Like, that's not letting Ahsoka do anything of her own volition. His statement makes no sense, and when characters say things that make no sense, I don't know about you, but I start to think that those characters aren't very smart characters. And the one thing you don't want people to think about Grand Admiral Thrawn is that he's not a very smart character.
Especially for all of us who have not really
Met him yet.
Yeah. If this is the first time meeting him, this is General Hux level of stupidity.
Exactly. Especially because of all the buildup, too. It's 7 episodes in, and everyone's like, this is the guy that we've been waiting for? Why are they concerned about this guy? I don't get it.
This guy, he then tells them to have the fighters re-engage.
The toady caravan comes to a halt as they see Balin and Shin ahead of them on the hill. Balin tells Shin to take the nomads and kill Ezra and Sabine and to take her place in the new empire. She asks why he isn't coming too. He says her path lies in one direction while his in another, but he leaves her with one bit of parting wisdom.
Impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
Shin calls for Imperial reinforcements as she and the nomads begin their attack. The toady caravan has started running away, but the nomads catch up and start shooting at them. Sabine is able to shoot a few, and the toady also managed to take out a couple. I thought that was kind of neat how they were like crashing into guys. They drove the two ships together. It reminded me of the Ewoks using the tree logs to smash the chicken walkers. But yeah, I like this little chase scene. But then the nomads disable one of the tent mobiles, and Ezra signals the rest of the caravan to circle up around the damaged vehicle and protect their friend.
While Sabine and Ezra prepare to square up against Shin, Ahsoka is still escaping her pursuers, but indicates that she has to get down there. Huyang says they can't land while under attack.
Won't need to land.
Oh, not this again.
Yes, this again.
They open up the back door and Ahsoka jumps out of the ship so Huyang can lead the fighters away. She lands rough and somehow manages to not break both her legs, but finds herself face to face with Balin. Because, of course.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world.
And you gotta dodge roll into mine.
He is surprised to see her, but not disappointed. However, he doesn't want her interfering with Shin's takedown of Ezra and Sabine, so he pulls his lightsaber out. And Ahsoka draws both of hers, and they fight.
Round 2. Fight.
This, boys and girls, is a very great example of a good fight scene and a bad fight scene. And you get to see both of them simultaneously intercut. Back at the caravan, Sabine hands Ezra his lightsaber, but for reasons I am unable to fathom, he tells her, "No, you keep it." And I'm just staring at him going, why? You have no weapon. Sabine has many weapons. And don't give me any of this, the Force is my ally bullshit. So she tells him to at least take a blaster, and he tells her the Force is, God damn it! The nomads attack, and Ezra gets all the melee ones, while Sabine is taking fire from all the ones with blasters. It's a good thing, too, because if they had switched, Ezra would be toast, and Sabine would have been overpowered. So we cut away from the world's dumbest fight scene to check in on Balin and Ahsoka real quick, who are having a much more exciting fight. They are going at it. And like, if you thought the fight between them in episode 4 was cool, then you will absolutely love this one because they're not holding back. They're not sizing each other up any longer. They are full force. Balin is attacking her with ferocity. Ahsoka got both of her lightsabers out and she is just going to town. They're trying to cut limbs off here. It's cool.
Where would you rank this among, let's just go Star Wars TV shows, like in terms of lightsaber fights? This is among one of the better ones.
I'm going to say number 2 because the Obi-Wan Darth Vader one gets number 1. This was definitely up there as one of the best. Watching, they just don't show enough of it. That's the only problem because they keep cutting back and spending more time with the dumb fight where Ezra refuses to use a weapon and Sabine has all the weapons and is not using all of them because she only has 2 hands. she can't do everything. And here's the reason. If they had given Ezra a lightsaber, the fight would have been over in 30 seconds. There would have been no fight. And then the stormtroopers wouldn't have gotten there in time, and that would have been the end of that. But they didn't give him a lightsaber because they needed the fight to go long.
Just the exact circumstances we need to make the movie happen, okay? So just go with it.
It was just so dumb. I hate it when people are dumb because he didn't need to show off with the Force.
No, I disagree. It's always fun to show off a little bit.
Well, yes. How much cooler would he have looked if he had a lightsaber in one hand and he's force pushing with the other hand? Could have done both. But yeah, so sadly, Ahsoka and Balin fight is short-lived, and we quickly cut back to Ezra force pushing fools all over the place. Shin then comes up behind him and takes a swing, singeing off a chunk of that sweet, sweet, curly, gorgeous hair on his Jedi head. This part is actually pretty cool. I will give them credit for this. When Shin starts swinging lightsabers at Ezra and he's dodging them expertly, like that was pretty sweet. And then she almost gets him, but he puts his hands up and he stops the lightsaber with the Force. And she's like pushing down and he's like pushing back. And there's just like a little bit of space in between his hands and the blade. But Sabine draws her lightsaber out finally and saves his dumbass just in the nick of time. With Shin finding herself double-teamed by Sabine and Ezra, which is usually something you have to pay extra to see, the gunships arrive before they have a chance to attack her. Shin then uses the distraction to push Ezra into a wall, knocking him out temporarily, and Sabine attacks wildly. We cut again back over to Ahsoka and Balin as he tells her that she can't defeat him. But as the Voldemort starts to approach from behind, Ahsoka says she doesn't have to. Just then, the Voldemort shoots flares at the ground, causing Balin to be knocked back. Ahsoka rolls around and steals Balin's howler to ride down the hill and reinforce Sabine and Ezra, leaving Balin behind.
As the gunships land, rather than raining fire down on the caravan from the air, Thrawn issues orders to attack, but notices that Balin is no longer with the Imperial forces. As Sabine uses her gauntlet to block Shin's lightsaber, Shin manages to put Sabine on the ground, and then the stormtroopers surround them. Shin orders them to fire, and Ezra tries to stall with cute banter just long enough for Ahsoka to come flying in.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Chaos erupts all around them as Sabine takes on some stormtroopers with her lightsaber. Ezra takes on more with force pushes and dodge rolls until he is forced to pick up a blaster. Back on the base, Thrawn is like, man, these Jedis fight good. Let's call back the gunships and get the hell out of Dodge. Again, this is something for me who's not as familiar as Thrawn. It's like, this guy seems like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Thrawn is meant to be a brilliant tactician. He sees everything coming. He's able to study, and it's odd to me that they did not include his art obsession in the show, at least as a way of introducing him. It's how he's always introduced. And his over-reliance on these witches and their powers, like, it seems like, would he even be able to do any of the things he's doing if he didn't have these witches playing on easy mode? So how do we make the smart guy who's supposed to be smart look smart, but also be the bad guy and have our good guys win? Oh, well, you just have him at the end say, oh, well, you may think that we lost, but actually we won because it turns out they gave us the time that we needed to load up the ship.
It was always our plan to trail at the half.
And it's like, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like a glass half full kind of attitude, not so much of I planned this all along. A win would be a win. You've decided to take this loss and twist it so that it sounds like you knew what you were doing. And that's not Thrawn, and I don't like that.
Morgan looks at him like he's crazy, and Thrawn says that these are acceptable losses considering Lord Balin abandoned us.
Oh, yeah, and he's blaming someone else, too. It's not my fault that we lost. That guy just totally took off.
He says that while they've been distracting the good guys, they also have been getting close to having the car packed so they can leave. It's okay if it looks like we lost this one because Ahsoka lost too much time and there's no way that they can stop them now. Until
episode 8. Back at the battle site, Ezra is pinned down and Ahsoka is about to face off with Shin when the stormtroopers just suddenly retreat. Ahsoka tells Shin to surrender and she can help her, but Shin takes off running too. Sabine turns to Ahsoka and has a really awkward I thought you were dead moment, but Ahsoka says, and miss this reunion? As she goes to give Ezra a big ol' hug. The Voldemort then descends on them, and the Toti come out of their tent mobiles as they all look around and assess the damage. Ezra tells them that he has a feeling he might be going home after all, and it's hopeful we won the battle music to credits. To be concluded. So yeah, Mike, episode 7, the penultimate episode. What did you think? Did you like it?
It had more going on. This to me is the epitome of empty calories. It's all style but no substance. And like even so, that style isn't that great except for like one fight. And I think this does a huge disservice for any audience member who doesn't really know a whole lot about Thrawn. It's like they're kneecapping him unnecessarily at this point.
Well, they're kneecapping him because if the good guys won, then he wouldn't come back. But he also can't kill the good guys because if the good guys die, then we don't get Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This is also, we're back to formula with an episode that should have been 2 episodes, 7 and 8 should have just been one long episode. Stopping it here is really silly, like, because nothing really happens. They come out of hyperspace, they get into a fight, they find the other guys who are also in the middle of a fight, and then the next episode is okay, let's finish this. So it was just a bunch of fighting and chasing, and so it was, you're right, empty calories. It's the best way to put it.
This did a lot of damage for me in terms of I didn't really care how this ended.
Yeah.
Well, because it's pretty obvious how this thing is going to end at this point. Thanks for wasting 2/3 of the season trying to show me that Thrawn is this, force to be reckoned with.
It's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania. It's the Kang problem. Let's face it. I'm going to spoil it here, but really it's not a spoiler because what else would be the point of this season? Thrawn escapes. He gets back to the main galaxy. That's the whole point because they're setting up a Disney canon version of the Thrawn trilogy. That's what's happening. It's going to happen. They've already announced it. Dave Filoni's working on it. God, I hope he hires writers. Thrawn is going to be the big bad coming out of this show. But, like, how am I supposed to be scared? Am I really scared of him now? Like, not even a little bit. Like, I'm not concerned at all. Like, at this point, the only way Thrawn's going to be a concern to me is if suddenly whatever opens up the next chapter of Thrawn, he's joined by like so many Imperials that suddenly they look daunting. But like at the beginning of the episode, Discount Borsfalia is telling me that there's not even an Imperial remnant to worry about. They're just a bunch of scattered fools. Like they're not coordinated or anything. And I guess they kind of imply that if they got coordinated, they might be a threat. But like, if the problem is they just aren't coordinated, then they're still a threat. And you should still be trying to clean that shit up. Like, you shouldn't be ignoring them. Because if even one of the Imperial warlords gets the idea to to join forces. And we got a little bit of that in The Mandalorian season 3. One of the scenes that I did enjoy was when we got to see Gideon and all the Moffs. And one of the Moffs was Captain Paleon, who is Thrawn's right-hand man in all of the books in this time period. So they are setting a little up here that makes me go, oh, maybe. But like, I don't have the same amount of concern anymore. Unless they're just literally planning on, like, we wanted Thrawn to be in it, but we didn't want to really show what he can do until like whatever movie we plan on doing.
I feel like this is a big problem with a lot of recent Star Wars villains. They just did a huge disservice with Thrawn, and this follows a pattern, particularly lately, of Star Wars just doing a pretty shit job of developing and making good villains. Because, like, Kylo Ren couldn't figure out what to do with him. General Hux, same thing. Like, bruh. Grand Admiral Snook or Snook or whatever his
Supreme
name is.
Leader Snoke.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Put a snook in his sniz.
There's something perched on the Snook's core. Oh God, it's looking at me. What are you? I have no qualms with you. Stay back.
I have a small nerd rant today, though.
Go for it.
You know what really grinds my gears?
That's not how the Force works.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
People are going to be mad at me, but we kind of touched upon it earlier. They need to recast Princess Leia. They need to also recast Luke Skywalker. I'm so tired of them beating around the bush about this. We need to see our three main characters, and Chewbacca freaking in these shows. It is very apparent at this point that they are just spinning their wheels wildly, trying to create new characters and bring cartoon characters to live action. And it isn't working as well for them. And I honestly believe that as much as people whined about it always has to be a Skywalker, you know what? Yes, apparently it does. Because I think if you have Star Wars grounded with three main characters that were in the original movies, you'll not only get a bigger audience, but you'll also have an anchor for your shows or your movies or something. And is that not what we all really wanted? Part of the reason people didn't like the sequels is because Han, Luke, and Leia were background characters and they all got killed off. All three of them, by the end of the sequel trilogy, are dead, and they only had minor roles. Their only reason to go back to this time era to fill in the gaps is to tell us what their story was. And the only reason they haven't done it is because for some reason they feel like they have to CGI face them because like we wouldn't be able to figure it out. Well, Mark Hamill played him in the old one, so we can't hire a new actor. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. I don't have a concern that Terrence Howard is no longer James Rhodes in Iron Man 2. I'm fairly certain people can get over the fact that, oh, well, Mark Hamill, he's 70. Because no one is going to be like confused by this. All he has to do is walk in and someone has to address him as Luke Skywalker, and people will go, oh, I get it, because the real Luke Skywalker is 80. It's the only thing that makes sense. No one was confused that Harrison Ford wasn't Han Solo in Solo. So why is it Luke and Leia haven't gotten the same treatment yet? And why are they insisting on not putting these characters in the show? And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. A Luke and Ahsoka show would be freaking awesome. Two wayward Jedi on a whirlwind adventure.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Like, come on! That would be so much fun. We need Luke and Ahsoka. We need Luke training Leia. Like, let's go! We can't do it if there's CGI faces and voices and ChatGPT dialogue voices. Like, can't keep doing it like this. We need our core 3 back.
Poor Mark Hamill. That swarm of nerds is gonna kill him.
Nerds! I completely agree. I'd like to think Mark Hamill would be like, yeah, go for it.
I'm almost positive he'd be cool with it.
I've had a good run.
Right? Guys, guess what? He'll still come to visit you guys on set, even if he's not Luke Skywalker. He'll still do it. I promise. He likes it. He's not Harrison Ford. He's not going to tell you to F off. He's gonna come to set and he's gonna have fun. He's gonna give encouragement to the new guy. He's gonna tell him, well, this is how I would do it. And they're gonna work together. And it's gonna be fine.
Mr. Hamill, come on! Who are you? Homer Simpson, Nerdbuster, and I'm getting you out of here.
No one got mad that Ewan McGregor was young Obi-Wan. No one was like, you need to use the computer to make Alec Guinness look like he's 20 again. Like, nobody said that. Like,
to make Alec Guinness look like.
Can you imagine? That would be the equivalence if the Phantom Menace came out and instead of casting Ewan McGregor, they cast just a stunt double with a green mask to then digitally de-age Alec Guinness's face. That would be insane. Like, why is that insane? But they're like, no, we can totally do it with Luke.
Should we move on to our official canon?
We sure should.
You know, my pep always said, if you want to do something right, you make a list.
He's making a list.
I'll put it on the list.
It's quite an impressive list. Thank you.
He's quite clever, for a human being.
In this segment, Mike and I will share our final 3 of our Star Wars Cinematic Universe list. I will do my best to not talk for overly too long about how much I love these 3 movies. There will be no hot takes this week. Well, no guarantees, actually. There might be.
I'm calling my shot right now. No hot takes, no sheaves this week.
You heard it here first. Mike is calling his shot. No hot takes, no sheaves.
I feel like we have the same order for our top 3. Top 4, technically, if you include Andor.
Yes. Yes, we will, most likely. We still won't include Ahsoka this week. We will do that next week when we make our final listing. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off this week with your number 3?
My number 3...
And don't screw around. Just give it to me straight.
My number 3 is Return of the Jedi.
Same.
It makes it sound bad that, like, Return of the Jedi is, like, number 3 in this, but I think you said this a couple weeks ago. I know Return of the Jedi is the one that I've probably seen the most.
I did, and I cut it, so they didn't hear it. But yes, I agree. It is the one I have also probably seen the most.
There's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Because as a kid, that was the one that was the most exciting.
Well, and it's weird because it's not only the most exciting, but you have 2 polar opposite situations here with Return of the Jedi. On one end, you've got the merchandising grab of the Ewoks, the cute, cuddly creatures that I think are way overhated.
Ultimately, Ewoks split Star Wars fandom into 2 camps, those born before and those born after May 25th, 1973. The Ewok line.
Oh, absolutely.
And then on the other side of that, you have Princess Leia in that bikini getup.
Oh, yeah. Sure do.
For kids, that's
and
everything.
Teenagers.
That's everything right there.
As Barney Stinson put it, the Ewok line. If you were above a certain age, then that means you were too old to love Ewoks. But you probably love Princess Leia in her bikini.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, though, it's also just quintessential Star Wars battle at the end. You've got your ground fight, you've got your space fight, and you've got your lightsaber duel with the bad guy. And it just beautifully intercuts between all 3. And it's funny because, like, Richard Marquand was the director, but I'm sure everybody knows it at this point that it's been said that Steven Spielberg actually directed quite a bit of that final battle. Spielberg was probably in California doing the Endor battle stuff. It feels like a Spielberg movie, those parts, especially like with Harrison Ford and the way that he's acting. He's very indie in some of those moments. So, like, I buy it. And just the intercutting between all 3. You've got Lando on the Falcon with Neenum and Admiral Akbar on his ship. So well put together that movie was. It sure, some people criticize it that, you know, it's like 2 movies stitched together. But I don't mind it. It's because they're both fun. They're both fun little mini movies.
Look, the first part on Tatooine with Jabba the Hutt was really exciting and really cool and introduced a lot of, like, fascinating characters. And, you know,
and it wrapped up the story from Empire.
Exactly. it also found a way to redeem Lando. He had a lot of work cut out for him for what happened in Empire Strikes Back. This was the only way to do it. Did it go a little long? Probably, but it's still exciting. It's still necessary. Boy, Boba Fett goes out like
a bitch.
Yeah, just
he bumps him in the back, and he's just like.
But then after that, Luke goes back to Dagobah. There's a couple thing in this that in Return of the Jedi I'm not a huge fan of. The conversation between Luke and Obi-Wan, Luke pretty much gets him on semantics at this point. It's like
you're also upset that Obi-Wan as a ghost could sit on a log.
No, that makes perfect sense. Obi-Wan trained for a long time to get the ability to do that.
Okay.
First of all, I love that conversation, but again, it's just it's classic. We didn't know what we had until it blew up, and now we gotta figure out a way to incorporate all this stuff. It's funny in that respect. The Vader and Luke fight and just all their interactions throughout Return of the Jedi are fantastic. I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on Harrison Ford saying that Han Solo should have died at the end of Return of the Jedi?
My thoughts are it's a good thing that Harrison Ford doesn't write movies, because that's the dumbest thing he could have ever said. Like, the only reason he says that is because he doesn't want to come back for the next one.
He doesn't want to do it. It's obvious at that point.
There's no story beat that could have possibly taken place that would have made it a better ending. Han Solo dying does not make it better.
No, like the ending is this joyous, happy thing. Empire Strikes Back did something like it subverted expectations because it's not a happy ending.
No.
Like, oh, okay. Shit. We
to
got
end Empire with Han Solo being captured by the bad guys, to then end Jedi with him dying it'd be a repeated beat that would be unnecessary. I don't know what he was thinking.
Right.
I think he just wanted the carbonite to kill him, and now he wasn't in the rest of the movie.
Oh no, he died!
Keep me frozen in the carbonite. Yeah, you talk more.
Return of the Jedi also gave us Salacious B. Crumb, the little Kowakian monkey lizard that sits on Jabba's tail and goes, and then we got all of the fun creature design from Jabba's palace, all those fun aliens, and they were all puppets and shit. And
until they weren't.
Yeah. Oh my god, I do have to say that the re-edit of the Rancor scene, they cleaned that up so much. They didn't add any digital effects to it. They just cleaned up the film, and I just have to say it looks so beautiful now. Like, it was always dark and grainy, and now it's so crisp and good looking. I love it. I absolutely love the way that Rancor fight goes down and how it looks now, and the new digitally remastered. One of the positives, one of my negatives is I don't like that they changed Han's when Lando, he's about to shoot the blaster at the tentacle. In the original version, he tells Lando, "It's okay, trust me." When he says, "I thought you were blind." And then they changed it to, "It's
all right, I can see a lot better."
Why they needed to change that one little line bothers me, because it's so unnecessary. I am one of the rare people who enjoys both the original and new dance numbers in Jabba's palace. The new one is a little overdone, but it's still kind of goofy.
A little?
It's goofy, and it looks pretty decent. It's a fun little dance number. The original one is really kind of stupid, and I don't know why they spend so much time on it. It's literally a third of the time that the new one is, but it still feels too long. But yet I like the music, and it's fun to see the puppet work. But I like them both. We did lose Yub Nub, pour another one out for a fallen song, because Yub Nub was fantastic. by no means the best way to end the movie. I do like how the special editions changed the ending so that it kind of incorporates all 6 movie locations. I like the music there. And of course, John Williams' score. Yeah, Return of the Jedi. I could probably quote the entire beginning between Vader and Moff Jerjerrod on the Death Star as he comes in.
I hope so, Commander, for your sake. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Because I've seen it so many times, and I can't say that for the other 2. If I really had to pick, honestly, I think Jedi, I might have a softer spot in my heart for it, even though I know that Empire is the better movie. I think I might like Jedi more, but it's so hard. Like they're like a 1A, 1B, 1C situation.
Yeah.
So then I think we should move on.
Do you want to go with your number 2?
Sure. My number 2 is A New Hope.
Yeah, that's my number 2 as well.
Of course it is, because we're not insane people.
I will preface this by saying I do not begrudge anybody who would put Star Wars number 1 because it's the first, it's the OG, it's the one that started it off. However, I'm not one of those people because I'm rational, but there is no denying that Star Wars, like A New Hope, is easily one of the greatest movies ever made.
Agreed.
For what it spawned, the ambition of it.
For the time. In 1977, no one had seen a movie like this before. At least not a good one.
Are we dealing with completely original ideas in this? No, absolutely
not even a little bit.
But it doesn't get more epic than this.
Exactly.
To start off with.
I mean, case in point, this past year, mere weeks ago, nigh on a month, we got Rebel Moon, which was essentially Zack Snyder trying to make this movie. And doesn't even come close. Did exactly the same thing Lucas did, only 40 years later. And it's not even a little bit close to hitting the mark. So it's like what Lucas managed to pull off, and not just Lucas, he had so many collaborators that helped him along the way. I think the prequels are evidence that when Lucas has complete control of the vehicle, it goes off the rails a little.
Doesn't work.
Having people to tell him no, having people to suggest other things, and having him not be big enough or powerful enough to disagree with those people is what made Star Wars what it was. It was a collaboration with a ton of people helping him from start to finish. And it was the perfect confluence of circumstances that led to one of the greatest movies of all time. And I think I'm going to make a little bit of a liar out of you, or at least your prediction a lie. I think this might come off as a hot take, but Star Wars is the movie that I put on when I want to go to sleep.
That doesn't feel like a hot take. I take that as it's something that's comforting.
Yes, it is like a warm blanket. When I can't fall asleep, if I want something that I've seen so many times that I don't like, there are some things where I was like, I've seen it 100 times, but every time I turn it on, I kind of peek my eyes out because I want to watch it. Star Wars, I've seen so many times that I don't even need to open my eyes. Like my eyes closed and I can see it happening as it's happening, and I can then drift off.
That's not a hot take at all. I have a movie like that as well. And for me, that movie is The Matrix. So Star Wars. To introduce all of these characters and to find some way to get you to care about all of them is nothing short of remarkable. Darth Vader is easily on the Mount Rushmore of greatest movie villains of all time.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, there were times when the first time I saw this, I was like, man, Luke, you're kind of a jerk. You're kind of a whiny little bitch.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
You eventually get to know him a little bit, and when they get out into space, it's like, oh, okay, I can tolerate this guy a lot more. Like, in addition to that, Alec Guinness is just so good. It bummed me out that, they killed Obi-Wan.
He's naked somewhere.
But at the same time, it was a necessary thing that had to happen. There's just so many iconic things. I love it so much, and I give it a lot of credit for enabling my love of movies, my love of sci-fi. I don't think I'm ever going to see a movie like this ever again. Processing.
Potential hot take number 2. I think, given enough time, I could equate the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie to A New Hope. Granted, there are a lot of differences, but I think that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is so good that it is equivalent to what A New Hope did in terms of entertainment value. It definitely didn't have as much of a cultural impact, and it definitely hasn't stood the test of time due to the fact that its sequels haven't lived up the same way that the Star Wars sequels did. But I think on a one-to-one comparison in terms of adventure, excitement, and if Jedi craves not these things, I think the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie comes close, at least for me.
What's in your head has put you in such a fine mood, Captain? We're catching up.
I'd have to ruminate on that because I hadn't considered that before. So yeah, I think Pirates of the Caribbean.
Until next time, please like, rate, subscribe, and share the podcast with someone who might enjoy it. Rate us 5 stars on your listening app of choice. You could find us on social media. Do you have any other things you want to say about A New Hope besides it's not as good as Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl?
No, I said it was just as good. They're the same. Equals in their own categories. R2-D2 and 3PO carry this movie in the first 20 minutes. And something that should not have worked, and it just absolutely does. 2 side characters for the rest of the trilogy are our main characters for the first half of the movie, and it's awesome. The Mos Eisley Cantina, another example of even more impressive, because it was only 1977 on pretty much a shoestring budget for the time. Although I guess they kind of had a bigger budget, but still, like, they ran out of money so fast in this movie when they were making it. What they did with those costumes was awesome. The introduction of Han Solo and Chewbacca is amazing. So many great moments on the Death Star, like the trash compactor scene, them sitting, debating whether or not they're actually going to save Princess Leia. Like, I love that. She's rich.
Listen, if you were to rescue her, the reward would be...
What?
well, more wealth than you can imagine.
I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit.
Little movie mistake moments where, like, the stormtrooper bashes his head on the thing that doesn't open all the way. That's great. And then that final X-Wing Death Star trench run, it's so amazing. And it's such a fun moment. And it's enhanced by the digital effects of the special editions where they're like, hey, you know what? The original stuff looked great, but we can make it look even cooler. And they absolutely did. Like, it never takes away from that. I love the little details. Again, I don't like the Greedo shooting at all part. However, I do love that they've now made it a joke by adding McClunky to the proceedings. George Lucas is like, you know what? I'm going to leave Disney one last gift. If they want this, they have to release this version, and we're going the other way with it. McClunky. So that's fun. These characters are great. The story is great. The music is absolutely spectacular.
So that must mean our number 1 is clearly Ahsoka, right?
That's right. We saved the best for last.
So Empire Strikes Back. Just the balls that they had to do a lot of things. First of all, to make this not, like, as we alluded to, not a happy ending. The Empire actually kind of wins in this case.
One could also say they struck back.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Aptly titled. Like, it's the perfect title for the perfect movie.
We don't introduce too many new characters. I mean, the 3-ish new characters that are introduced in this, the Emperor, not a huge part in this, but still introducing
a tease for the next.
Yoda. This version of Yoda is an asshole, and I love it. I love it.
He's been living alone for a while, so he got a little curmudgeon-y.
My home, slimy. My home, this is.
R2, let him have it.
R2.
The worlds in this are outstanding. You've got a swamp world, you've got an ice world, Hoth and Dagobah, and even just the Cloud City,
Bespin.
which There you go. I like the changing landscapes throughout all the things in Star Wars. And then also Lando, who, first of all, kudos for diversity. Representation matters. And also, Billy D. Williams is just so smooth, like such charisma. The Riz, as the kids
The
call it.
Riz.
Kids call it
He
today.
had all the Riz.
But also, like, what else are you gonna do in that situation? Right? Like, you're at the hands of the Empire and Darth Vader. Like, what else can you do?
He had a responsibility to the people he was in charge of, which was a new leaf that he had turned over. He was a respectable businessman now. What was he supposed to do? The government came knocking. He had to do what he had to do.
Yeah. All of that aside, also, the twist for the ages, to make Darth Vader Luke's father.
Darth Vader cannot be Luke Skywalker's father. They don't have the same last name.
Spoilers. Sorry. Spoilers for all you people out there who have no idea what that is, but just the gall to do that. That will be an all-timer.
Yeah, it will. Oh my goodness. Empire Strikes Back, it's the best sequel of all time. I'm sure some people will argue with me that The Godfather Part 2 is. I still couldn't tell you. But I don't think of any other sequel out there could rival it. Can you think of a sequel?
The first one that came to my head was The Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
But so
the second one that came to my head was Terminator 2.
The next one that kind of came into my head, it still doesn't compare to The Empire Strikes Back, is The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight is quite good.
Reeling it back to Empire, it's just everything is upgraded in this, from the effects to the script to the characters, the acting,
the cameras they use to film it.
Yes, everything is just better in Empire Strikes Back.
The director, Irving Kershner, crushed this movie. Even for little details, like Kershner made the executive decision to let Harrison Ford change the line from "I love you too" to "I know." And it's little details like that as a director, he can see the changes when they need to happen. Like we didn't get anything like that in the prequel trilogy when Lucas had his hands directly on the steering wheel. So like Kershner did such great work just with shot compositions. He made the movie look more dynamic than Star Wars even did. Empire gives us freaking the Hoth battle. They did that entire battle. Normally you hide all the things with a dark background. They were like, we're going to do a snow background. Who cares if it looks a little like you could see through certain parts before they digitally enhanced it and changed it for the special edition. You could see through the cockpit of the parts you shouldn't be able to see through on the cockpit for the snow speeders. I always loved that little detail that they were like.
There was an opportunity to go back into those shots, use the computer technology, and eliminate all the transparency, but also not have any matte lines.
This is the one where the special edition is the best. There's not a single thing that they changed in Empire that is bad. They did at one point put Luke yelling, "No!" as he falls down the shaft, but in the next version, they took it out. So it was like, oh my God.
As they should have.
So like the one thing that the initial special edition got wrong, they fixed. And so Empire literally is the perfect movie because it has new stuff, digitally enhanced stuff, and old stuff. And they didn't digitally enhance a whole lot. Like it was the movie that needed the least amount of edits. And so like it really was a perfect movie. And that battle at the end with Vader and Luke.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
In the Cloud City, it gets so brutal so quickly. It's shot so beautifully with the blue and the red lightsaber and the smoke and the dark light with the orange hue, and the way that it starts out with Vader's just toying with him, he's just holding his lightsaber with one hand, just like screwing around with Luke. And then Luke's starting to get better and fight back. And Vader's like, shit, I better pick up the pace here. He gets really scary really fast. Oh my God, I love every minute of that scene. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I got to do Empire as a BEC once.
Oh.
And I forget what the topic was, but I wrote about that scene. I managed to squeeze it into 10 sentences.
How'd you manage that?
I was very economical with my writing.
Yeah.
Run-on sentences. It was like the end of Palm Springs when he's like,
I need you to survive, comma, but it's so much more than that. Colon. You said it yourself. In order to really know a person, you have to see the entire package, the good and the bad. Ampersand. You're my favorite person that I've ever met. ... Ellipses. Ellipses, thank you.
the longest run-on sentence ever. Love Empire.
Well, we did it. We got through the official canon.
That's the official canon.
Well, we have to compare, or we have to combine the lists and agree.
This is true.
We
do. We have to combine the lists, and I'm not looking forward to that task. No, I think we're going to agree a little bit more this time around.
I feel like that as well. We have less to do. Plus, also, we're going to have to figure out where to put Ahsoka in as well. Not as many hot takes as our MCU list. And I think your hottest take of the Star Wars, the official canon, is that Curse of the Black Pearl is better than all of them, except Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Everybody knows.
So what do we have coming up next week?
Our next episode will be Star Wars Ahsoka Part 8, the finale, titled The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. The heroes race to prevent Grand Admiral Thrawn's escape. Short and sweet. Until next time, please like, subscribe. Remember, if someone hands you a lightsaber before a battle, you take it and share the podcast with someone who might enjoy it. Rate us 5 stars on your listening app of choice, and you can also find us on social media. I'm on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Letterboxd at Jagged2319.
I am on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Serialized at MLHilty2452. You can contact the show at geekspeaklouder@gmail.com or on Blue Sky just by searching Geek Speak Louder Than Nerds. Join our Facebook group and follow us on Twitter at Geek Speak Loud, because the ER was just too many characters for good old Elon Musk. Until next time, I'm Mike Hilty.
And I'm Nick Farrow. Thank you for tuning in to Geeks Speak Louder Than Nerds. Bye, everybody.
Catch rays.
McConkey.
Did you forget already?
No, I didn't forget. I didn't realize that is what you were going to do.
Well,
mainly because I thought you would have at least answered that part. Never mind.
I mean, I can.
You have to do it again. Please go again.
I'm doing all right, Mike. How are you?
No. Now you're just trolling me.
Making outtakes.
McConkey.
You're funny.
I'm hilarious.
McConkey.
I'm waiting for the Pizza Head video game. That seemed like a missed opportunity the 90s should have grabbed a hold of.
Well, the old Domino's mascot got its own video game, so I don't see
the Noid?
Yeah, the Noid.
An idea. Sony. No, not Sony. Sorry, I'm gonna cut that out.
How about no?
Nintendo. Why not start adding mascots into Super Smash Brothers?
McConkey.
A Super Smash Brothers clone with Tony the Tiger and Fred Flintstone and Pizza Head and the Noid. Just food mascots. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch chefs.
Snap,
they're like poking.
Yeah.
McConkey.
You say tomato, I say tomato. You say pizza, I say tomato casserole.
It's very cold in Chicago, very cold. It's windy. You need to be able to, I don't know, have a pizza and maybe cut it open and climb inside it like a tauntaun to keep warm.
McConkey.
Kenny Baker, who probably died 10 years ago for all I know.
No, he was shortly after.
Shortly?
Oh, You monster.
I'm a monster. You're the one that said it.
McConkey.
Well, I mean, I'm executive producer, sure, but I'm also a giant pain in the ass. Just ask Julie.
McConkey.
Just then the shoot ships flares.
McConkey.
What they need to do is they need to consult and actually bring Timothy Zahn on board to write for the character that he created and is literally his brainchild.
McConkey.
Who also might have made an appearance in this week's episode. There was that Moncal sitting next to Discount Borskvalia. He was dressed like Admiral Akbar, but all he does is just nod his head, so I didn't know if it was him or not.
What a waste, though, if... Why don't we recast a younger Admiral Akbar?
McConkey.
And Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma. Mothra. Mothra.
Mon Mothra.
McConkey.
Do you have any other things you want to say about A New Hope besides it's not as good as Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl?
McConkey.
Hot takes, Sally. Bet you better slow those hot takes down.
McConkey.
Now, me, for instance, I could let you drown, but I can't bring this ship into Tortuga all by me onesie. Savvy?
McConkey.
The music isn't as good as the Curse of the Black Pearl music, but, you know, it's all good, right?
I would put those two up together against each other.
Do you read the Pirates of the Caribbean Expanded Universe books?
I would if they had one. It's all fan fiction on the internet. It's kind of gross.
I mean, well...
Do you ever see what Jack Sparrow did with Davy Jones to get that black spot?
I mean...
all those tentacles.
Tentacles and all.
McConkey.
I can write fanfic, no problem. So
there you go. We always have a fallback.
Oh, of course. Of course. Geeks speak louder than nerds. Fanfic
After
edition.
Dark.
McConkey.
I still put Batman Begins as my favorite.
Well, and that's kind of the thing, is that I do have a soft spot for Batman Begins, and I do like that one better than The Dark Knight, which I feel like is a hot take now.
McConkey.
Had Dark Knight Rises risen to the occasion. I feel like...
McConkey.
Listen up, Hollywood. Enough is enough. No more trilogies in which one of the movies takes place a decade before or after the other movies. It's a trilogy killer. It absolutely can. Think of every movie trilogy that does this. And the one that makes the huge time jump inevitably is the weak link. Almost every time. Attack of the Clones, huge time jump, is the weak link. Dark Knight Rises, huge time jump, is the weak link. The Resident Evil trilogy, huge time jump between 2 and 3. 3 is the weak link. And the reason is because almost all of these trilogies that do this, this is a mini nerd rant. Those trilogies usually set something up at the end of the one before the huge time jump. Yeah. I think the only one that ever got away with it was Avengers Endgame. And the only reason they got away with it is because the movie does the huge time jump in the first act. Like they say, okay, it's been a week.
Let's go get him.
Let's go get him. And then they go get him. So then like there's a bit of a follow-up. So you kind of feel a little satisfied by, okay. And then the movie then deals with the time jump. It doesn't just go, and now let's move on and do something new. That's the only one that's managed to do that. But one could argue the Avengers, not a traditional trilogy.
It's not, because there's 4 of them.
McConkey.
No, yeah, I'm actually going to stand by that. In fact, I'm going to pull up Letterboxd right now. I think I have Curse of the Black Pearl higher than Return of the Jedi on my top 200 list. I do. Curse of the Black Pearl is my number 11th favorite movie of all time. Return of the Jedi is 17.
You change your screen name to Captain of the Black Pearl.
McConkey.